Hey guys and gals, and welcome back to the FPL Pop In Pod. We finally reached episode 20 after what seems like forever since episode 19 and all those pancakes, which quite frankly I miss. If you have no idea what I'm talking about with pancakes on an FPL podcast, then go back and listen to episode 19 and you'll fully understand what I'm talking about when I mention pancakes. I'm of course Migtavius, and this week I'm all by my lonesome. As some of you may be aware of, Nim is currently recovering from an operation that she was supposed to have a while ago, but it got cancelled a couple of times on her, but she's finally had it, and she's fine, she's recovering, but under doctor's orders she has been told to take some time off work and to rest, which means no waffling on podcasts for endless amount of time. So she has been banned from the podcast, as it were. So you just have to listen to me talking and waffling on about nonsense and nothing, really. But hopefully she'll be back for next week's, possibly. But, you know, we're not going to rush her back or anything. If not, then probably the episode after. But you never know. I mean, mysterious, you know, she'll just make a surprise return. You never know. But anyway, to stop me waffling, I'll get on with our review of the Gameweek 28 fixtures. Our heavyweight game for Gameweek 28 was, of course, Manchester United versus Chelsea. Mourinho welcoming his former club to Old Trafford. Man United coming away with the win, the 2-1 win, which was correctly predicted by Nim. So even though she's not here at the moment, she is still currently beating me. Because I went with a 1-1 draw. She predicted the 2-1. It was hardly a game really to write home about. I mean, it was one of those two big clubs clashing against each other, sort of cancelling each other out. Chelsea just edging the possession and the majority of the attack in general, to be fair. But United played Chelsea at their own game, you know. They held back and then they caught them on the counter-attack. Lukaku quickly replying to Willian's goal. And F1's favourite self-promoting tweeting dabber Lingard popping up from the substitutes bench to get that header for the win, which he promoted a lot on Twitter. But no, it's good to see Ron back in the goals. Willian's always a funny one because he shone against Barcelona in the Champions League, but you're never sure if he's going to start or not, which is a dilemma because he'd be quite a good FPL option, I think, in the midfield there, especially a cheaper alternative to someone like Hazard. Yes, that's 1-0 Nim anyway. Our supporting act hasn't actually been played yet. It's going to be played on Thursday, possibly, if this beast from the East allows it to be played. Manchester City visiting the Emirates. Although maybe Arsenal would prefer if the snow came down and sort of just covered the whole of the Emirates after what could only be described as a shambolic performance in the cup final. So maybe, hopefully for their sake and maybe for Nim's sake, that game gets called off. Although we both have players left to play in that game, so maybe not on an FPL aspect. But just so we're aware, our predictions before the cup final occurred, I was going for a 3-1 Man City win, and Nim was going for a 3-2 Man City win. The cup final hasn't really changed my mind. Although, knowing Arsenal, they'll come out and probably trounce City now, when it doesn't really mean anything, which is typical Arsenal, really. Although I do have Aubameyang, so if he happened to do quite well, then I'd be all for that. My surprise fixture for last game week, or the current game week that we're still in, was Brighton-Swansea, and, well, I got that one kind of wrong. I went with a Swansea 2-1 win, and that didn't quite pan out because Brighton ended up winning 4-1. I don't really know what happened to the Swansea team that were in quite good form and beating teams like Liverpool and Arsenal and stuff, because they kind of went back to the performance that they were given in before that, which kind of saw them go right down to the bottom of the table, which is something that they're probably going to want to swiftly turn around. Especially when I have one of their players in my team. I'd like Swansea to reverse that and carry on the season as they were. This is just a minor blip. Thank you very much. But one man who certainly has been freed from the shackles of being in my team is Glenn Murray. Since I sold him, he's been soaring with the goals, notching up another 2. Their record signing, Locadia, I think I'm saying that right, Locadia, grabbing one and Kanokar. But thankfully I did free Dunk. So obviously me freeing him from the shackles of my team has helped his scoring rate as well. He just needs to work out which goal he's actually shooting in. That knocks him up to 4 own goals this season. Since though there are 17 other players that have scored own goals this season, they've all scored 1 each. And he scored 4. Which, funny enough, puts him at joint 18th in the all-time Premier League own goal scorers. Of course, Richard Dunn top on 10. And then you got Jamie Carragher and his Liverpool teammate Skirtle with 7. And then there's like 4 people on 6, 10 on 5, and then you got Dunk. So he's averaging about an own goal every 7 games. It won't take long. Maybe if someone buys him or Brighton stay up, maybe next season, just into the following season, he'll be able to reach that top spot, no doubt. But he is actually currently Brighton's joint 3rd goal scorer. If he, got them in the right goal, behind Murray, Grosh, and equal with Izquierdo. What a great name. Izquierdo. I like it. Yeah, not that I'm knocking him, because he served me well at times and horribly other times. But moving on from my despair with the surprise fixture to Nim's surprise fixture, which she was a little bit closer with. She went with the Burnley-Southampton game and said it would be a low-scoring affair. She went with a Southampton 1-0 win. It was, of course, 1-1. Just the inevitable Southampton loss of a clean sheet that ruined it there for her. That's actually 7 league games now without a clean sheet for the Saints. And with Stoke up next, their best hope is that Lambert drops Shaqiri for some reason and plays Berahino instead. Because that fella's gone 2 years without a goal now. So that's probably their best bet to keep a clean sheet against the Potters, who are doing a lot better actually now. They're almost taking that Swansea form now. Bottom half teams are sort of taking it in turns. Palace had a run. Watford have had sort of an in and out run, although they're now into the top half of the table. And then you got people like West Brom and Saints who are kind of hoping to have their one soon. Barnes was back on the score sheet. And Barnes is a bit of a funny one because he could be a relatively good one to keep an eye on for that sort of cheap 3rd striker slot or 2nd cheap striker slot, depending on how many high profile strikers you have. I think he's like 5.2, so that's cheaper than your Wilsons and stuff like that. And they have a relatively good run of games compared to some of the other teams around there. So he may be one you want to maybe just stick on your watch list. Maybe just keep a little eye on him because his minutes may deteriorate because Wood played in a behind closed doors match for Burnley. I think it was against Preston or someone like that, along with Tarkowski and Heaton. So he may be back in the fold. And Heaton, one to keep an eye on for all those Pope owners out there. I don't know if they just throw him straight in because Pope has been doing pretty well for himself this season, so they may just leave Pope in for the rest of the season and then look at the situation in the summer with Heaton. Or they may just throw him straight in. I don't know. I'm not a Burnley manager. I'm just a man sitting by himself talking to a microphone. What do I know? Well, I know what I got in my FPL points this week, and quite frankly, I've taken this season now. It's basically a one-on-one battle with me and the average. And at the moment, this game week, the average is winning. Okay? The average is 38. I'm currently on 34. 1,421 overall. I've dropped about 80k so far this game week, down to 1.8 mil. Nim's doing a bit better. She's won over the average. She surpassed the 1,500 points mark now. She dropped about 50k, so she's now in the 800,000 mark overall. Obviously, there's still a game yet to be played, possibly, like I said, if the snow decides to allow the game to be played, and we both still have people to play. I've got Aubameyang and Kevin De Bruyne, so obviously those points could swell, or they could get 2 each, or 1 each, I don't know. But Nim has City boys, Otamendi, Sterling and Aguero, Well, I was wondering if she was hoping that it wouldn't be a repeat of the Sunday Cup final, but if she's got all three of those to play, then maybe FPL-wise she would quite like City to stuff Arsenal on Thursday. Do we know about that? Possibly. I mean, Aguero will probably score. He always seems to score. Otamendi could. Sterling's still a doubt, I believe, so I'm not too sure about that, but a high-scoring game would be quite nice as I haven't got any defenders in. I could have been above the average if I had kept De Gea in instead of Lurzel. De Gea got like 4 points compared to Lurzel's 2 because of his saves against Chelsea. I was debating whether to keep him in because of that, because I dropped him against City earlier in the season. Because obviously he was like, it was against City, he's going to get... But of course, the amount of shots he faced... And I think he ended up getting a clean sheet in that game. And of course, bonus points. And it was just like, But he didn't keep a clean sheet this time. But Lurs all let me down. I could have had Stevens and Deulofeu in with their 5 points as opposed to Fernandes and his 0. And any number of Walcott, Milivojevic, Vardy all got 2 points. I could have had the average, if not peaked above it, But still a game to go. I'm after your average. But Nim done alright with her selections. She captained the right person, like anyone should. She captained Mo Salah, who got 10 points. Probably should have got, definitely should have got more. But, that's the bonus point system. I don't know how it works. It doesn't work, for one. I don't think anyone thinks it works when people like Mo Salah and Kane don't get any bonus points, but Butland, who scores an own goal and then makes a few quote-unquote saves, gets 3. I mean, I know it's dependent on the game. Butland probably, with his saves, done more than most of the other players in that game because it was such a boring game. Whereas someone like Mo had other players around him like Firmino and Chan doing stuff around them, accumulating these bonus points, scores, however they do them. So they had bigger competition for the bonus points, whereas someone like Butland, and we had in previous seasons people like Sigurdsson and Llorente were sort of the star in that team, so they were doing more in that team and they were getting more of the points to get the bonus ones. I would have imagined that scoring an own goal would be a big decrease in that score. But that's not for, I don't know how that works. So as I've just mentioned him, leads me on to my player review. Obviously, Nim hasn't got one, so I'll just be focusing on my players. My star man for the second week is my captain for the second week in a row, and that's Bobby Firmino. No surprise, really. He's a form player in a form team, and he doesn't even need to look at the goal, although I kind of wish he would. Because there'll be this one time when he misses, and I will not be happy with you, Bobby, if you look away from the goal and hit the post. I will be saying some bad words at you, sir. So don't do it. Alright? You've done your 3, you've got your memes and your tweets, so just leave it now. Alright? Just look at the goal, scoring it. Job done. Of course, he wasn't the form player of the game. That was, of course, Mo Salah, who is the form player of every game that he plays in a Liverpool shirt. But I'm still not going to buy him. Still not doing it. Not touching him. Not touching it. There's no point. Past it. I am a self-proclaimed, out and proud Salah dodger. Alright. I know there's some people with me. Matt Dyson, the Gameweek podcast, is, probably the only one that I know of. But I'm sure there's some more out there. So let me know if you're a Salah dodger, hashtag Salah dodger. Let me know, because the man is at like 60-something% ownership. There's got to be some people out there. Let me know where all the Salah dodgers are. We need to have like a group community colony, probably. But anyway, that went off for a bit of track there. My fire player. Someone who hasn't exactly banged yet in their arrival into the Premier League, and that's Aubameyang. But he has got an away day down on the south coast against Brighton next game week, which seems like an opportunity as good as any for him to get some good goal-scoring momentum behind him. hopefully he can go down there, get past those dunks and the duffs and the bongs and the stilettos or whoever else is at the back. Get in there, get some goals, get some confidence behind him, and make him someone to have for the rest of the season. Because I need some competition for Kane's and Aguero's and Lukaku's now popping up. And, for Arsenal, for Nim. They need you, man. They need you. Sort it out. Another person who probably needs to sort it out a little bit of more of a consistent basis is my lightning pick. My flash in the pan, because the first goal we scored in 4 game weeks, and that's the unloved middle child of the Liverpool 3, Mane. Thank you, Sadio Mane. You took a while, but thankfully you got a goal, because quite frankly, you were this close to leaving the team. If it wasn't for you playing in game week 31, But hopefully now you got the confidence that you can score in that team. It's not all about Salah. It's not all about Salah. It can be about you, Mane. Sadio, I'm talking to you. This could be about you, okay? Make it you. And Firmino, you two. Forget about Salah. Don't pass him the ball. Don't give him the ball. Just keep it between yourselves. Right, you were the originals. Coutinho left you. Salah's come in. Don't worry about him. Don't give him the ball. That's how we work. One thing that doesn't work is Fernandes and Brighton. I put Fernandes in after their good run, and obviously I've missed their good run. You were playing Brighton, Fernandes, Brighton. Okay? You don't go to Brighton, concede 4 goals, and get me 0 points. It's just disappointing. It's just disappointing. I put you in for good, man. I put you in instead of Norton because you were 0.1 cheaper. And then Norton goes and gets an assist or whatever he did. He got some bonus points. And now you're dropping me 0 points. That's not allowed. That's not cool, man. You got to back up your ideas. You're not playing in 31 either. So you are in my future plans. Well, you're in my very immediate plans to ship out. But, you haven't helped me in order for me to get you back in afterwards, You burned me. You burned me bad. Another one that has burned me, who's going into my bin of sin, not really through fault of his own, but is Deulofeu. I got him in with the view to having the 31. I think I got him in for Zaha in his injury. And he's only gone and got injured himself. Now, I didn't think of Shaqiri at the time, which annoys me a little, because Shaqiri's obviously done better since. And he has the better game week 31 fixture, because Deulofeu would have been up against Liverpool, whereas Shaqiri is up against Everton, I believe. But yeah, I didn't realise how bad Deulofeu's injury was, because obviously there's like 3 weeks. If he had just got a knock, missed a game week, that would have been fine. And he put out a tweet on his Twitter page. If you haven't seen it, then I've retweeted it, so go check mine out at Mictavius. But basically, he says, out from the pitch for some time. Now, I don't know how long some time is. That could be a few weeks. That could be a couple of months. But it's really... it's that sort of thing, because he's obviously proved very popular since he's come back, and do you keep hold of him till closer to the time to see if he is fit enough to play? Or do you just ship him straight out for someone like Shaqiri, a Huddersfield player or something like that, I'll probably ship him out because Shaqiri's in good form, which is a bit annoying because I was hoping to not make any transfers this game week, because I currently have 8 game week 31 players. Now, I said last week that I wasn't really focusing on game week 31, but then I looked at my team and I already had like 7 players, and I dropped Ramsey this week for Walcott because of Ramsey being a doubt and Walcott having the 31 fixture, and I thought, might as well, even though Walcott didn't do anything for me this game week. So with 8 and with a few weeks, I could have get a couple more people in. But my plan was to blank this game week so that I'd have 2 rolling over, but only do 1 next game week and 1 the following game week, so that I had 10 players for game week 31 rather than the 411 that I could have. But then I'd have 2 transfers for 32 in order to sort of reset a couple of those places that where I got people in just for the 31. Now, obviously, Dale Lefeu would have been one of those game week 31 players, which now irks me a little bit because I may have to swap him out for someone like Shaqiri, which is an extra change I didn't really want to make. Although I'm not too adverse from taking a -4 because, quite frankly, what's 4 points to someone who's 1.8 millionth place? 4 points isn't going to hurt my ranking that badly. So I could probably afford to take a -4. I could probably afford to take a -200 to be fair. In my team currently that I have for game week 31, I've got Lurzel, Francis, Higazi, Mane, Luka, Milivojevic, Firmino, Walcott, and of course Dale Lefeu. But what my thinking was in the next couple of weeks, I'll blank this week. Next game week, I'll drop Stevens to Martina for Everton because he's got Newcastle and he's got Brighton. And then on that 31, I'll drop Fernandez to Fosu Mensah from Palace, who has Huddersfield and has a pretty good run to the end of the season. So he would probably be staying in the team, although Palace aren't doing wonderfully. We should really have had the clean sheet, just gonna put that out there. Yeah, so that sort of scuppered up my transfer plans, but I may just carry on with them and just take a -4 and just get Shaqiri in instead. Just spoil myself and take -4 points. At this point, I'll just interject with the FPL Journal League, as we haven't looked at that for quite a while, and since I'm here by myself trying to think of something to talk about, we might as well have a little look to see what's going on in the league. When I looked on my phone earlier, I'll have to put it up on Twitter because we didn't actually have a first place in the league. It directly started with second place and third and fourth and fifth. Now, I'm presuming that that's just a glitch and that Darren Rushton and his Torana Suarez Rex team are actually indeed the leaders. He has previously been a leader, and I assume that he is still the leader. It's just the numbers have glitched on the website or something. He's currently 15 points clear of his only real challenger at the moment. Apologies for this. Sagar Chowdhury? Sagar Chowdhury. That's what I'm going with. If it's wrong, I apologise sincerely. Because they're a good 50 or so points ahead of third place, but Sagar Chowdhury with the team that is nothing less than Fantastico. Because, Fantastico, because that's his team name. See, it's his team name. Yeah, you get the point. They're quite far from third place. So it's really just like a 2-team shootout for the title in that league. Well, until we hit the double game weeks when crazy points will be going on. But just a quick shout out to some of my favourite team names in that league. You got Klops and Robbers from Simon Gregory. You got Lalana in Pyjamas from Piccolo Nino. I'm not sure if I prefer Lalana in Pyjamas or Piccolo Nino. That is a great name. I love a name like that. Piccolo Nino. Fantastic. Well done. You just carry on with that name. Not Mane Fuchs Given. Okay. I'm going to say that again slowly, just so no one complains. Not Mane Fuchs, like the player Fuchs Given. And that's Daniel Spibby. Spibby? I'm going with Spibby because it sounds like something the Roadrunner would say. Not blub blub. But I think my favourite one is Nordfelt My Butland. Yeah, he did. Nordfelt My Butland, George L. George, well done, and you probably want to see the police about that. What should be seen the police is I'm currently 112th in the league, and Nim is well into the top 100. She's now 73rd in the league. But enough about that. We'll kick on with the Game Week 29 preview games now. And our heavyweight game is, of course, the only heavyweight game that could be from that week. Newly crowned Caramel Cup champions Man City against the current Premier League champions in Chelsea. Now, Nim has given me her predictions for these games, so it's that competitive spirit she still has. She still wants to beat me, even though she can't do the podcast. I've gone with a Man City 3-1 win, and Nim's gone with a 2-1 City win. So we're both going with City. Chelsea's just getting the one goal. An interesting thing to note about these two is that the Citizens and the Champions have traded league doubles over each other in recent years. City done the double over Chelsea in the 15-16 season with 3-0 wins both home and away. Chelsea then came back last season with a 3-1 away win, followed up by a 2-1 victory at Stamford Bridge. And now this season, City won a close game back in September thanks to a Kevin De Bruyne goal. I think we all remember him celebrating scoring against his old club. So obviously City have won that game. So will they carry on with that pattern of doing doubles? If so, that means they're going to win and our predictions are right. So, but seeing as though we've predicted them to win, they'll probably lose now that we've cursed them. The supporting act is Spurs versus Huddersfield. Now, Spurs are obviously on a good run of games. Huddersfield are very hit and miss. But could this be one of those big hit games for Huddersfield at the home of English football? Probably not, to be fair. Last time out, the Terriers got put to the sword by Kane and his buddies 4-0. So I think they'll probably do the same. I'm going with a Spurs 4-0 win. Nim's agreeing with Spurs win, but she's going with a 3-1. So she thinks they're going to lose their clean sheet. And you can probably expect a couple of Kane goals in there. I mean, he's just doing it for fun now, isn't he? And probably some alley dives, to be fair, because, he's just doing that for fun now as well. He's not getting punished for it or anything. So, hey, what the hell, Might as well go for it. Hey, Delhi. One game that's certainly going to be going for it by Nim's recommendations anyway is her surprise fixture, Watford versus West Brom. She's going for a thrilling Watford 3-2 win, which isn't too far from what could happen actually, because earlier this season they played out a 2-2 draw. So Nim might not be too far. She thinks that Watford will just pinch it this time, which they may well do because they've been playing quite well recently. And in my surprise one, which is a game that doesn't really strike you as an exciting game, but by the fact that I'm highlighting it as my surprise fixture, I'm hoping that it, then comes to life, although it'll probably just end up in a damp squib. And that's Southampton versus Stoke. I'm going for a Southampton 2-1 win. I'm kind of hoping that the fear of the relegation zone sort of puts a little bit of extra pep into this game. Because Stoke are, I think, the second from bottom, but then Southampton are just outside, but Stoke are just a point behind them, so if they win, they can drop them down to the table. I mean, Southampton is a game that Southampton need to win. Well, to be fair, every game now, everyone needs to win, to be fair, at the bottom of the table, because Palace were up in 12th, now we've dropped right down to 17th. I mean, one win and you're shot up half the table, one losing you're halfway down it. I mean, it's crazy at the bottom of the table there, and I would like to say that being part of it is exciting, but it's not. It's bloody terrifying. And I don't like it, and I would like it to stop. Preferably by Palace, going up into the top half of the table, but, that's just me being picky. And that concludes our picks for this coming game week. Now, I've got a couple of listener questions, so I'll just quickly go through those, and then I'll let you go about your business and listen to, people who actually know what they're talking about. Our first one is from Mo, or as Nim would say, Momo, who is a regular sender of questions on this podcast. He's got 3 comments, so I'll just go through them. I'll go through them. His first one is, how does one do this on their own? I'll leave you to judge that. Hopefully not too bad. I mean, it's not hugely difficult because I'm kind of just talking to myself, which I generally do most days, and just try not to do out loud where people can hear. But yeah, so it's not actually too bad doing it. It's hard not having someone to bounce off, because obviously having someone else there to bounce banter off or stats off or just ideas off is a lot easier than just having someone rambling into a microphone who doesn't usually ramble into a microphone by themselves. So it's kind of difficult. You have to let me know how it sounds from your end, if this is sounding okay, or if you're chomping at the bit to get Nim back, which is probably the latter. His first real question is, what United attacking player should we get? Now, I've had a couple of Man United attacking players over this course of the season. The attacking players that Man United have, let's see, we've got Martial, Sanchez, Lingard, Lukaku, Rashford, Mata, Pogba, possibly. Well, you could probably knock Pogba out and Mata out of that. You could take Rashford out of that because I don't even know if that kid plays anymore. Martial doesn't really get the minutes he deserves. I mean, when he plays, he does well. So if he played more, I would go for Martial. Sanchez is very expensive. He's only scored 1 out of the 4 league games. And that was after a missed penalty, so he didn't really get anything for it. So, that's a lot of money to go for Sanchez. Lukaku, likewise, is very expensive, but he has scored 2 goals in the last 3 games. And he got the assist, obviously, in the last game. So he is the form player of the attacking lot, but he is expensive as well. Which only really leaves one person who I don't really want to recommend to anyone because I kind of don't like him. And that's Jesse Lingard. Obviously, he has the price on his side. I mean, his minutes have dropped off recently. I mean, he's only played sort of 60-odd, 70-odd minutes. I mean, he only played 26 in the last game. Yes, he got a goal, but he did blank the previous 5 to that. So, I mean, he does have price on his side. He's the cheapest one. If I had to have any of them, being me, not wanting to have Lingard anywhere near my team, I'd probably go with Lukaku or Martial if he started getting proper minutes. And his last one is more of a comment than a question. He thinks Ox deserves a mention, but he has Van Dijk, Salah and Firmino. And Ox does probably deserve a mention. I mean, his minutes are very irregular. He was starting after Coutinho left, but now that Henderson has come back into fitness and Lallana is now seeping back into the team, his minutes have waned off a little bit. But his performance is still up there. He has got an assist in the last game. He is very sort of he'll have a points return and then he'll go 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks without doing anything and then he'll get another points return. And they may not even be big points returns. They'll just be an assist or a goal. Which is nothing, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's more than I do. He is quite cheap, to be fair to him. He's 5.6. So, there's worse people you can have. Especially if you haven't got the funds to get a Salah or a Mane or a Firmino. Or if you don't want to risk having a Liverpool defender and having to rely on Liverpool to get you a clean sheet. Because that's something that doesn't happen every time. He's definitely someone that you could keep an eye on, but just knowing that he's not going to be a regular returner of points, especially when you don't know if he's going to be starting or not. And our other set of questions come from FPL Sniper, aka Frank, at Frank Walsh 82. Mo, of course, was at Dave07Smith, just to put it out there as I didn't say earlier. And Frank asks 2 questions. I'll go with the second question first. He says, Wilson hold or sell? Fixtures are good, game week 31 available, minutes may be limited with Defoe return though. That price range is thin. It certainly is. So I asked him who he currently has for Game Week 31, and he has Firmino, Salah, Walcott, Shaqiri, Van Dijk, and Milivojevic. So he doesn't own Wilson, but he does say that he would want to buy a max of 2 more. He doesn't really want to overload on the relatively weak game week, which I can understand, and which was my point from the previous week. But he may get a Huddersfield midfielder. I think if you already have him, you might as well keep him, at least until that game week is done. I know other people like Fly have said that he's got to go, and I can understand that because he is a very hit and miss striker. I mean, especially for some who are cheaper than him, who seem to be more consistent, he is a very hot and cold striker. There's a risk of him losing out on minutes to Defoe or even King or even that Mousse player. so I can understand why you'd want to ship him out. It also depends on if you're reliant on him to get points that game week. If you don't have that many players playing, or if you have someone like Frank does where he has Salah and Firmino, I mean, you're not going to be reliant on Wilson to get you points if you've got Salah, or if you've got Firmino, or even if you've got Shaqiri, because Shaqiri seems to be in great form at the moment. If you're not heavily reliant on him getting points, or if you can cover him in the next couple of game weeks, because obviously there are a couple of game weeks before game week 31. If you can cover him for those, and so that he just fills a slot on game week 31 to get you just a few extra points, then go with it. I wouldn't buy him if I don't own him, and I don't own him, and I won't be buying him. Especially when you got other players who are cheaper, who are also playing that game week. People like Nias, who is probably quite a bargain at 4.9 mil. You're already banking 1.1 mil there with Wilson at 6. So someone like Nias could probably prove to be a better option. He also has a relatively good run of games up until and including that game week. Obviously, after that, 32 and 33, he is at home to Man City and Liverpool. But he's the striker, so you never know, you might snatch a goal. And then after that, it's quote-unquote FPL greens, although away at West Ham at the end of the season is not a green. I'm not sure about that. That probably should be a green. Basically, if you already have Wilson, you might as well keep him unless you really want to get him out. Or if you feel like you're not planning for game week 31, which, you know what, I wasn't, probably still ain't. And you can use him to help your team elsewhere, looking forward for the rest of the season, then do that. If you don't have him, then I wouldn't waste the extra 1.1 mil to get him in when you can have someone like Nias. That's what I'll say about that. And his second one, he has Van Dijk for game week 31, like I said. But he's looking to get one other defender for that game week. Which teams would you look at? So his only playing defender for game week 31 is Van Dijk. He was looking to get a Huddersfield midfielder in. So that leaves someone at the back to help out Virgil. So looking at the teams playing in 31, we got Bournemouth. They're home to West Brom. Who have you got there? You got Aki, Daniels, maybe, but then that Bournemouth, I mean, you can't predict what a Bournemouth side's going to do. They could keep a clean sheet and smash the other team, or they could concede 4 goals and get you nothing. So you might want to stay a little bit tentative to that one. You got Palace away at Huddersfield. You could have Fosu Mensah, maybe Van Aanholt. He's getting it forward a couple of times now, but haven't kept a clean sheet in a while. Haven't won a game without Zaha. But we're within a couple of minutes of getting a clean sheet against Spurs. So away at Huddersfield, that could be a good option. Like I said earlier, I was probably be getting Fosu Mensah in for that game week and keeping him for the rest of the season because at 4.4, he's a cheap option and he's playing at the moment. Everton away at Stoke. That man Martina that I mentioned earlier, he could be a good option. 4.4 mil. Coleman's a doubt at the moment, so you could side with Kenny. 4.3 mil. Horrible games afterwards against Man City and Liverpool, so they would literally just be for that game week. But Huddersfield, you've got Zanka and Schindler, really. Zanka let me down. Not really sure I can justify you buying him. Schindler does alright, you know, they're kind of the same. Schindler is 0.1 more though. Liverpool, obviously you got Van Dijk, so you don't really need to look at those. I wouldn't double up. One Liverpool defender's enough to be worried about. You don't need to double up on them. Stoke, Jack Bauer, as Nim would call him, is proven very popular at the moment. So you could go with Bauer at 4.5 mil. They do have very shaky fixtures around that time though. That is, I mean, they're home to Everton, so they're not in a great run of games. And then they're away at Arsenal, at home to Spurs. So, you know, if you're looking for someone just for that game week, he's a possibility. But if you're looking for someone to then keep for the rest of the, or for a couple of game weeks or so, it's not really going to happen. Watford away at Liverpool. I'm not really sure you want any defenders away at Liverpool. You have people like Mariappa, Kiko Femenia came back in the last game, Prodal. I'm not really sure you want any of those though, especially if you have Salah and Firmino, because hopefully they'll be smashing goals past them. And then West Brom, which is a bit of a dodgy one. They're like Bournemouth, who incidentally they're playing. Very hit and miss. Hegazi and Dawson are always good options, or probably always the better options for that defence. I currently have Hegazi. I got him a week too late for his goal, but he could be a good option. So I'd probably say either Palace defender, Huddersfield, and then either Bournemouth or West Brom. Probably siding more with Palace and maybe West Brom. I don't know why. Well, I know why Palace, because that's probably a bit of bias, but I'm not really sure about... Although we have struggled to score goals, so maybe Huddersfield could be a good option. I haven't really helped you at all there, have I? Palace, Huddersfield and West Brom I'd probably side with due to finance and the likelihood of a clean sheet. And I'm going to stop there. I think I've waffled in your ear for long enough. Check out the website fpljournal.com. The Twitter page is at FPL Journal blog. My Twitter page at Migtavius. Nim's Twitter page at NimFreerTV. Check out her YouTube channel where you can find all these past podcasts on. That's youtube.com/FPL Nimfreer. Obviously, I'll send her the file for this, but whether or not it goes up, that's by the by. I mean, the amount of times I haven't sent her files for like 3 weeks, so, she's allowed to wait a little bit before putting it up. The podcast is also on iTunes, Stitcher and SoundCloud. Hopefully you won't have to listen to just me waffling on next time, but obviously, like I said earlier, we're not going to rush her back so that it makes her worse. We're going to give her the time for her to recover. But thank you for listening and coming this far. If you have, thank you for the couple that are still listening. But in the meantime, don't forget to keep popping. #keep popping.